Going live, you're live! Hello everyone, I'm Santiago, and today I'm going to be comparing FSR, NIS, and native 1080p on the GTX 1050 Ti, a budget GPU. How are you guys doing? Welcome! So FSR, FidelityFX, Super Resolution, NIS, Nvidia Image Sharpening, and 1080p, well, the classic we all know and love, which is usually our baseline nowadays for budget stuff. Many times we gotta drop below 1080p because GPU shortages. So we got two games to test today. Both of them have a native FSR implementation, so keep that in mind. There's no native NIS games, at least right now, but it is on a driver level, so hey, Kalnos, Dimitar, Raving Kilvatman, Lonely Pro, Alessandro Dale. Hey guys. So we're not doing DLSS because we require an RTX card, and we're doing 1080p because most people, while they are testing this, do 1440p and 4K, which is fine. I see the implementation of that on mid-range stuff, but in general 1080p is kind of glossed over because people say it's very blurry, and I kind of agree. It depends on the size of the monitor and the distance. So what we do with this is we're going to be doing 1080p. Then we're going to try ultra quality FSR, which is the highest option available, which is 77% 1080p, something like that, like 831, 832p. And then we're going to do the same thing with NIS on 77%. So we got the same pixel count, that both implementations, and that's basically how we're going to do it. So first we're going to do no FSR, okay? Hey, Dark Master, demo, Big S, let's go. So as you can see, 1080p native, we're on a 1050 Ti by the way. FidelityFX, contrast adaptive sharpening, disabled. This is just a sharpening filter. This is the FidelityFX we're talking about. TAA, it's good for FSR to have some sort of soft image. Not super soft, but like that. Textures like this, meshes on max. CACAO, ambient occlusion, and that's basically it. Those are the options we're using. Also, we're not using film noise because this will make the upscaling look even worse. So it doesn't make sense to have film noise enabled on this one in general. Anyway, so I'm going to get into the game. We're going to be in the same place, so we restart checkpoint. And I'm going to record a few seconds. So this is native 1080p, keep that in mind. So I press F and I start recording this. So I chose one of the very first locations that you're looking into the distance, basically. And this should give us a good way to see how this technology works. A lot of contrast in this image. Okay, so I recorded 15 seconds. Let's now do the same, but with FSR on ultra quality. So, ultra quality. Again, ultra quality is like 831, 832p, something like that. So we enable it. Remember, an in-game implementation. So yeah. Come on. And I'm going to change this to FSR ultra quality 832p, something like that, around 832p. Alright. So I recorded that. Now it's time to do NIS. For NIS, unfortunately, I need to restart the computer. Or at least restart the game. So keep that in mind. I'm going to try that out. Before doing that though, let me show you... I'll show you first FSR versus native resolution. Just so you guys understand what I'm going to do. So I grabbed those two videos. Hopefully you can see this. You should be able to. Hang on. I gotta fit this to the screen. Transform. Fit to screen. There we go. So if I go to the side by side and I do this, as you can see, one of them is FSR and the other one should be native resolution. As you can see, with FSR we get like a 10 frames per second boost. So yeah, we got FSR versus native resolution. So yeah, you can notice that it shimmers a little bit more on FSR, especially on trees. There's a lot of vegetation in this game. Unfortunately, there's no sharpness option for FSR in this game. So yeah, but you get a massive performance boost. Let's see this with NIS now. Let's do the same resolution, but with NIS. So to do that, we go into the desktop, into the Nvidia control panel. Does film noise look better though? No. Film noise, disable that. It'll be an issue with film noise on, film grain, better said, because the upscaler will also take the film grain into account, so make those grains be more sharp, which will look rather bad. So in my opinion, that shouldn't be an option. So here, the good thing about NIS, it's on a driver level, so you can tweak it manually. In this case, what I like doing is around 15 to 20%. In this case, I'll go for 16% or 20%. Yeah, 20% should be a good baseline. So if it looks too sharp, we can make it look softer. That's one thing that I like. More games should implement FSR with the with the sharpening filter, but most games don't. So what this means is we're doing 77% 1080p once again. As you can see here, 831p, like on ultra quality FSR, 831p, 77% of our native resolution. So let's launch the game once more. And let's see. Splinter Cell Remake got announced. Yeah, I saw it. I got an email a few minutes ago. Blew my mind that they were going to do that. I'm happy that the Splinter Cell thing is just a remake, not a remake. I was expecting more like a remaster, honestly. But it just started development, so it'll take forever. We'll see. Hopefully it's not an open world live service game. And it doesn't have a million icons on the screen. Hopefully. Okay. So NIS. Let me disable. So FSR, we turn it off. Completely turn it off. And we go to the NIS resolution that was created, which is 832p. Let me see if it's on the list. Should be. Hopefully the game doesn't crash with this custom resolution. I hate when games make me cycle manually through each resolution each time. I cannot. My capture card doesn't like that. Come on, game, you got this. Yeah, it crashed. Of course it crashed. Let me restart the PC super quick. Yeah, the thing that I hate about the Resident Evil options menus is that when you're trying to swap resolutions, it changes the resolution to each one that you're cycling through. It takes forever with a capture card. Any games that do not work with NIS in your experience, or we good with every game? So far, very, I don't remember exactly which ones, but as long as you can do a custom resolution and it shows up in the game's menu, should be fine. If the game doesn't have full screen, you can use borderless full screen. And to make that work, you put your native resolution as the NIS resolution on your desktop. And that makes it work right away as well. So I haven't encountered any games as of yet that do not work with NIS. It's on a driver level, so it should work basically on anything, as long as you can use that custom resolution. So yeah, hey William Ferreira. Laptops have NIS? That's a good question. Many laptops do not support it, because they have Nvidia Optimus, which means that the screen is connected to the integrated graphics, and when it's not necessary to use the Nvidia GPU, it uses the integrated GPU in the middle. In those cases, it doesn't seem to show up like at all, which is unfortunate. I think laptops are the ones that will have the biggest difference in performance. Okay, let's go one by one. So, 832p should be the next resolution. Come on. Come on, game, please. Allow me to change. Is lossless scaling 2.0 good? It's good as long as it's supported by the game. Oh, I think I know what's happening. I have MSI Afterburner running. Let me close that down. Sometimes this interferes with the game changing resolution for some reason, so hang on. Let me see if I can do this again. My bad. The Santiago himself. What up? What up, man? Long time no see. Can you test Arc again? Not planning on to. There's too many games. Maybe one day, but today is not that day. And I'm honestly not interested in Arc at all. I mean, I lost hope already. It's probably better, but it's not easy. It's not easy. It's not hard to improve on garbage, so performance is probably better, but that's probably the easiest thing they could have done to the game. Nothing against Arc, but still. I'm not a fan. Okay, yeah, that was the issue. MSI Afterburner was the problem there. Okay, 831p. So basically the same resolution as FSR on 1080p on ultra quality. So 1080p NIS. 77%. Around 832p. Something like that. So same as ultra quality with FSR. So FSR on ultra quality would be this resolution. Perfect. Let's go back into the game. Can you test the newly announced Splinter Cell remake? It's a few years away, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, sure. When it releases, I'll be here testing it, as always. Okay, here we go. So, NIS, let's see.
Where the hell am I?
So, remember, NIS is basically doing the same thing, but on a driver level. So, it doesn't only upscale the game, it also upscales the UI, everything. But let's see how it looks and how performance fares. Should be pretty easy to spot the differences, I'm guessing. Okay, so I stopped the recording. Let's do the comparisons. Let's do the fun part. Let's see, guys, if you can spot the difference. I'm going to put all three videos. And you can probably tell me which one is which. It's pretty easy to notice, I think. Okay, you can probably see that. Yeah, I think so. Hang on. I'm going to put it on full screen, hopefully. Okay. Alright, perfect. So we got a full screen. Let me put play. There we go. Okay, guys, which one is which? I'll wait. Which one is FSR, which one is native resolution, and which one is NIS? I'll be waiting. Center NIS, NIS FSR are native. Yep, you got it right. The one on the left is NIS, the one in the middle is FSR, and the one on the right is native. So I'm noticing that NIS, the one on the left, flickers like on FSR, but that's probably because the sharpness was set too high from the media control panel. Although the clarity of the textures appears to be better, FSR loses the sharpness of the texture, and it doesn't happen on NIS as much. NIS is closer to native on the texture side, but then on the edges, it's more shimmery. It has more of a shimmer look. I'll try to lower the sharpness. Give me 1 sec. Let's give that a shot. So far, NIS looks better on the textures, but then on the edges themselves, especially into the distance, I don't like it so much. I rather use FSR in that case. Let's see. You didn't get that option in your 2060, is that normal? It depends. Are you on a laptop? If you're on a laptop, well, that's the issue. The laptops, not all laptops support it. Alright. So let's try that again. NIS 30% maybe. No, this is 77% resolution. The sharpness, hang on. Why the hell is this? I don't have an iGPU. What the hell, Nvidia? So let's try 0% sharpness. Maybe 5%. Let's be better than that. 5% sharpness. So that was like 20% sharpness. Now we're at 5%. Let's see if sharpness is kept to a minimum. What happens? So 5%. Let's keep sharpness to a minimum. Can you believe I finished this game on a 750 Ti? Yeah, I believe it. There are some parts at 20 frames per second, but in general it should be smooth sailing. It makes sense. You don't think 5% will make a difference? We'll find out. That's what we're here for. Give me 1 sec. I'm not sure why this is not showing me my overlay. Where's my overlay? Frick. I want my overlay. The last boss was a slideshow. I believe you. I believe you on that one. Sorry about the flickering screen. I'm trying to make something work. There we go. All right. So options. We're still with NIS X31P. And let's see what happens. So 5% sharpness. Hopefully that's enough to make it on pair with FSR native. Let's see.
Where the hell am I?
So this is again NIS with 5% sharpness. 15% sharpness was good for you. Well, makes sense. In some games it will be good enough. On some others, it depends. You can tweak it manually. So that's more of the thing that I would do. Manual tweaking. All right. Stop recording. Okay, let's jump into the comparison, shall we? I'm going to open the program. And give it a minute. I gotta line up all those videos. Okay, there we go. So we put everything side by side. There we go. Okay. So this one, the one on the left, is NIS with 5% sharpness. This one is like 15% sharpness. This is FSR. And the other one is native 1080p. So before doing that, let me label everything, because if not, it will be super confusing. There's a lot of stuff on the screen. So 1 sec. This is... I'm going to duplicate everything. So 1080p native is the one at the right. Then, hang on that I messed something up. Paste as a duplicate. 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 There we go. So this is 1080p FSR ultra quality. the one here. This other one is NIS 1080p NIS 77% plus 20% sharpness. That's what I'm trying to convey. And this one is 1080p NIS 77% plus 5% sharpness, basically. So yeah, this is a comparison. Let's see. So let's zoom in. You can probably now see it properly. Yep, you should be able to. So what about performance? Okay, so performance between FSR, NIS, and native, almost the same performance. They're doing the same thing. They're essentially lowering the resolution to around 831p in the one I selected and upscaling to 1080p using that algorithm. So visually speaking, I would say the NIS image with 5% sharpness is much better than 20% sharpness. The sharpness in 20% on the NIS, I don't think it's worth it in this game. Lower the sharpness. It looks too sharp on this, over sharpened, better said, on the NIS plus 20% sharpness. So 5% sharpness in Resident Evil Village seems to be the way to go. Then on FSR, the one right here, I'm noticing that there is a similar image to NIS on FSR. NIS 5% looks pretty similar to FSR. Although NIS with 20% sharpness makes the textures look better. But I would say NIS with 5% sharpness and FSR look almost the same to me. Let's do that. Let me show you that super quick. So which one is better? They appears to be basically the same, at least in this game. Although the Nvidia one you can use it on any game, so that's a big yes to me. What am I missing? Oh, yeah. So now I'm doing NIS versus FSR. Whoa, my camera was gone. So now we're doing NIS versus FSR, the ones that you guys were waiting for. So this one, again, this is a 1080p image, a 1080p screen, stretching out an 831p image. So this is what I would use as a comparison line, 5% sharpness on NIS versus FSR. Honestly, if I wasn't doing a side-by-side, I wouldn't notice any difference whatsoever. I'm not noticing much of a difference, honestly. It looks a little bit sharper on the Nvidia solution. Even with stuff into the distance, they look almost the same. Yeah, although now that I'm noticing, the Nvidia one is a little bit over-sharpened with high contrasting objects, such as this one. It has a white background and a dark edge. Here the dark edge is not as noticeable. But I mean, again, yeah, it looks a little bit more unstable on NIS. Maybe it's a little bit over-sharpened. Maybe 0% sharpness makes more sense. But still, I'm zooming in 400%. Nobody does this in real life. And yeah, this branch is a little bit incomplete on this one. So yeah. I think they look almost the same. So in the case of Resident Evil Village, I would say the one that you have available. The thing that I like about the Nvidia one is that you can tweak the sharpness, but at 5% it already looks like FSR. In this case, FSR I think is a better solution because it doesn't upscale your menus and all that, only the game itself. So in Resident Evil Village, let's do one more test. Now that I have the things to compare that I know of, let's add one more thing. I'm going to add native 1080p now. Of course, native should look better. That's kind of the point. So yeah, now we got native 1080p versus FSR versus NIS. So let's take a look at that. So this is, the one on the right is native 1080p, the one in the middle is FSR, ultra quality, and the one at the left is 77% NIS of 1080p with 5% sharpness. So as you can see again, frame rates with NIS and FSR almost the same frame rate, basically the same. I mean, it's going up and down from 46 to 47. So yeah, basically the same in that regard. Then performance on 1080p, we lose 10 frames. So if you do this on a 1080p screen, although I'm noticing some artifacting here on the AMD card, that is just, yeah, on the 1080, on the NIS image is covered by numbers. Dang it. Yeah, sometimes here FSR breaks a little, actually, in this edge. It doesn't happen on NIS, which is interesting. Huh. But that's so far away. I mean, anyway. So let's compare that against native 1080p. Okay, on native 1080p, it looks sharper, basically. There's more pixels. So yeah. Yeah, 1080p of course will look better. But remember, we're getting 10 frames more by doing this, so some extra shimmering, but you get 10 more frames. I think I cannot complain about this, honestly. Both technologies are doing a great job. And they're pretty similar. Again, one of the things that I notice is that edge here, that is more unstable on FSR. But they almost look the same. Then native resolution looks better, more clear. But at the same time, also the textures look more clear, but at the same time, with a 10 FPS boost, I really will just enable this and call it a day. At least on Resident Evil Village. Let's do Horizon now. Horizon Zero Dawn. No, 20% sharpness in this game is too much. It'll look over-sharpened, so my advice, avoid over-sharpening your image. Just go directly to 5% if you can do it. And if the game has an option, well, we're going to use it as well. So one sec, the game is going to close. I'm going to open Horizon Zero Dawn. Bueno, gracias, Lautaro. Sí, debería ir bien, Lautaro. Ponerlo en modo hardware y ahí debería funcionar bien. Tema que usa mucho mononúcleo ese juego, es medio exigente ese juego, ese emulador. Alright guys, Horizon Zero Dawn. First, let me disable NIS. Because if NIS is enabled all the time, you're going to get sharpness on your 1080p image as well, so keep that in mind. If you're not using NIS for a game, make sure to turn it off. Okay, let's launch it. Only DLSS can save us in Unreal Engine 5. Probably, yeah. Hopefully in the future that's the norm. But right now it's not the future, so we cannot do DLSS on any GPU. That's kind of why I'm doing this. People don't realize that, yeah, DLSS looks great, but it has dedicated hardware to work. It doesn't work on anything. I mean, DLSS looks amazing, but again, doesn't make sense if it doesn't run on everything, at least right now. At least for us, doesn't make sense. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, let's do medium settings. Just as a baseline. ¿Todo bien, Frost? Te mando un saludo, brother. Todo bien. Man, I haven't loaded this game up after finishing 9 times. That's a lot of commitment. You mean Resident Evil Village or Horizon? Okay, so let me load the save. So we're doing native 1080 first, then we're doing FSR, and then we're doing NIS. The usual. Playing Horizon Zero Dawn while watching you stream Horizon Zero Dawn. Oh my! My brain! Village, that's a lot of commitment. Although Village is a great game, so I don't blame you for it. If I had time to play through it 2 more times, I'll happily do so. I did that on Resident Evil 2 Remake. What's glorious. ¿Por qué no subes más videos en español? Nunca subí videos en español, eso es la excepción. Pero gracias por intentar. Is it possible that FSR looks the same like DLSS? No, it won't look the same as DLSS. DLSS has a lot more information to upscale the image, and dedicated hardware to do so. So yeah, it's a different way to upscale. Let's leave it at that. It uses AI, it needs more... It needs other hardware. Doesn't work on everything. That's kind of the thing for us. Right now, RTX cards are not the norm. Once they become the norm, and everybody can do DLSS, then I'll do the comparisons against DLSS, but I don't have an RTX card, so I don't think it's realistic to do those comparisons right now. Also, DLSS requires a game to implement it. FSR and NIS do not. Although FSR, I wish it wasn't a driver level like NIS. It will make it even better. And do NIS get updates and upscale look better? No. I mean, if they make it better, they're probably going to put in a driver. But it's a pretty straightforward thing. And by pretty straightforward, I mean it doesn't have a lot of science behind it, after all. If they make a better algorithm, they're going to update it. But it's not the same as DLSS. DLSS, you train that AI to do that thing, that upscaling. Oh, motion blur off. So yeah, it's a different approach. I wish we could train FSR and NIS, but it's not AI, so we cannot do that. That's not how it works, unfortunately. Okay, let's reload the save. We start recording. So this is native 1080p, for the people wondering. Let's leave it for a few seconds. Y yo creo que bien, Kevin Gamer. No debería haber problema. You just said it? Yeah, I said it. No worries, no Atata. I know that there's latency between us. Okay. 20 seconds. Let's now do FSR. FSR is a big uplift on this one. I tried it yesterday, and it was pretty good. Okay, so ultra quality. Ultra quality again is 77% 1080p, around that. Let's try that again.
No one else will die because of that.
What if Eloy's hair consumes all FPS? Probably it does. I wouldn't be surprised. Mortal Kombat 11 to come to Game Pass. That's amazing, man. I didn't know that. But Todd Howard said it just works. Yeah. See that mountain? You can go there. Okay, stop the recording. Now it's time to do NIS. But for that I'll need to quit the game, unfortunately, so give me 1 sec. Alright, so now what I'm doing is enabling NIS. It's probably going to make me restart the PC, who knows, we'll see. So for that, again, I'm going to be using 5% sharpness. That seems to be the sweet spot for softer games. So let's see what happens. So remember, the resolution that I'll be using is 77%, which is X31p, like on FSR Ultra Quality. So yeah, 5% sharpness, X31p, let's go. FSR 1.0.2 looks better. Well, good. Where is that? I never see that before. Where is that FSR 1.0.2? That would be nice to see. I mean, if they find a better way to upscale, count me in. Super excited. I'll try it. X31p. There we are. So NIS X31p. For some reason the NIS counter is not showing up. That's okay. We restart the game. Too bad that you can't do DLSS 2. Well, it doesn't make sense to do DLSS because I don't have a compatible GPU. I mean, I could get an RTX card in the future, but I don't think it needs to be compared unless you're doing Nvidia versus AMD. But DLSS only works in certain games with certain hardware, so I don't think it's worth comparing. This is not the same application. Let's call it that way. I mean, it's interesting to see the differences between the technologies, but it's completely different technology. Hang on, I think my computer crashed. Oh, it didn't. Come on, Horizon, give me an image. Okay. Yeah, no, I gotta restart the game, definitely. Restart the game, restart the PC. Yep, I screwed up. Yeah, let's reboot. So we're rebooting because I didn't reboot. I was just lazy. Should have rebooted the PC. Oh, NIS doesn't work with HDR. But I mean, let's be honest, most people do not use HDR. On PC, it's a very niche feature. Yeah, the game became the desktop background. It happens. Rauf, we're going to try that eventually. I gotta do Warzone again. Because we got new updates, a new map, and all that good stuff. So yeah, we gotta try it. Come on. Okay, NIS is working, good. I have my top left corner image. Okay, perfect. Same settings, 831p. Let's go. Which one is better so far? So far they are the same, at least in Resident Evil Village. Let's see on Horizon how it handles on Horizon. Oh yeah, and the Intel upscaling tech, that will be interesting as well. So many comparisons. That would be amazing. I heard that 30% should be a good value, and everything above it. Anything over 20% looks over sharpened to me with NIS. Maybe it's only me.
A measure of justice for the dead.
Alright. Let us wait. When will Among Us get DLSS? That's a good question. Probably once we get the VR mode, DLSS will be included. Sí, tiene sentido, Cookie. Tiene sentido. Okay, so we got the 3 recordings. Let's see how that goes. Sorry about the lag. My computer is kind of dying. It's telling me, why are you doing this? Okay. So here we go. Let me line those up. All right. A little bit. There you go. All right, so the one in the middle is FSR. The one at the left is NIS, and the one at the right is native 1080p. Oh, let me put labels on it. If not, you guys wouldn't understand what I'm talking about. There we go. So, 1080p native, as you can see there. 1080p native on the right. FSR on the middle, and NIS on the left. As you can see, in this case in particular, I prefer NIS. As you can see, this is what I was talking about before, the sharpness. See the sharpness on FSR? It's too over sharpened. Look at those edges in the quiver for the arrows. It looks way too over sharpened with FSR. Although with NIS, it looks a little bit too soft, so personally I'd rather take the softness on this one. A little bit softer. I prefer a little bit of softness over sharpness. Over sharpened, not good. A little bit softer, that's fine. So yeah, in this case I'd rather use NIS, I think. Although that texture looks worse. But in this implementation with FSR, it's way too over sharpened. That's what I'm trying to get across. So yeah, in this case, FSR will have more sharpness, better texture detail in general, because of the extra sharpness. But then in edges closer to the camera, like alloy, they will be over sharpened. With NIS, you can tweak it manually. And also with NIS, you're also upscaling the menus, which doesn't happen with FSR. So I don't know. You know, it's all up to you there. That's personal preference. We got both options in this case. Again, sharpness plays a bit role on this one. Maybe I can increase the sharpness a little bit and make them look the same. But I think the FSR implementation on this one, again, too sharp. Way too sharp. Although you maintain that texture detail, which is good. On NIS it looks softer, so maybe I should crank up the sharpness a little bit, but that's on a game-to-game basis. And what I was saying before is that, see the menus? When you're using FSR in an in-game implementation, the menus do not change size, because it's the same base resolution for the UI. But then with NIS, the UI also gets upscaled. So yeah. Anyway. So, I think it's time for a conclusion. I think I saw enough. So, conclusion. Hi, Hiro. I was almost going to leave. So, what's my conclusion on this? It depends. That's my conclusion. Nah, I'm kidding. So, my conclusion on this is that, while 1080p native looks nice... Oh, also, I forgot to mention. What's the performance difference? In this case. Okay, in this case, NIS runs 1 frame better. An entire 1 frame, imagine that. So in this case, NIS has the lead on performance by a very tiny margin. Then native resolution is 10 frames behind. Sorry, 8 frames behind. Something like that. So yeah, I'll stay in the most obvious one. There we go. So as I was saying, what's my conclusion on this? Well, of course DLSS will win. It has dedicated hardware to do so. So stop comparing it against DLSS. We all know DLSS is better. I mean, come on. What the hell, guys? Different implementations, different technology, please. Keep DLSS out of this. It's the superior option, we know it. I know you're smart, but please, let me talk. Here we're comparing the same technology, so 1080p native is 1920 by 1080. FSR ultra quality is 77% of the native resolution, which is X31p. That's in the middle. And then NIS, I selected 77% of 1080p, which again is the same resolution as FSR ultra quality on 1080p. So same pixel count, the only difference, again, native 1080p is more pixels. So NIS, the big advantage of that one is that if you have an Nvidia card, it's on a driver level, so it should work on basically every game. There might be a couple exceptions, but you're basically using a lower resolution and the driver says, oh, he's using X or Y resolution. Okay, let's upscale it to native. So it should work on basically everything. FSR in this case, it's an in-game implementation. So the developers went into it, added the option, the algorithm is part of the game now. So it has its advantages and disadvantages. So the first advantage I would say on FSR, before that, they do basically the same thing. So I compared it in Resident Evil Village and it was pretty easy to match FSR with NIS. They looked almost the same. It's the same technique. But there's something in the middle that is a little bit different when it comes to the sharpness. So on Resident Evil Village, it was very easy to match them. Here in this case, I probably could do more sharpness on NIS to match FSR. but the FSR image, in my opinion, is over-sharpened. Then, the disadvantage with FSR, you can use it with lossless scaling on any graphics card to do it on any game, but it doesn't always work. I tried it, trust me, it's finicky AF to make lossless scaling work on any game. That's pretty difficult. There's a lot of issues, at least in my experience. In some games it works, but that's not the norm. Let's leave it at that. So FSR will limit it to the games that support it, but when it supports it, it's great to have it in the menu. Then the disadvantage between FSR and NIS, I'll say the main one, is that if you're playing with the driver level NIS, also the menus are going to be upscaled. Not only the game, but the menus, all the user interface will be affected, as you can see. If that doesn't bother you, that's fine. But what I like about NIS, again, is that we can tweak the sharpness manually. So that makes us a lot of control. In this particular case, Horizon Zero Dawn, the sharpness of FSR in this implementation is too sharp, way too much sharpness, and we cannot tweak it in this game. So we're stuck with a sharpness of I don't know how much, but it's too much. But then on the NIS side, you say, okay, it's soft, it's 5% sharpness. You could increase the sharpness and make it look a little bit better. But that's about it. So in this case, I would say they are the same. I'll pick the one that is inside the game manually, in my opinion. Again, in Resident Evil Village, they looked almost the same. Let me show you super quickly Resident Evil Village, so you guys can understand what I'm talking about. My conclusion is they look the same, depending on what sharpness you set it to, but they both do the same thing, they get to the same frame rates. It's kinda all the same. Which makes sense, it's the same technology. They use the same principle. So let me show you now RE Village. Once again, RE Village is another game that supports FSR natively. There we go. So as you can see, this one is the same. So RE Village, we're doing native resolution versus FSR versus NIS. So NIS, the one on the left, FSR in the middle. As you can see, they look almost the same. I saw some artifacting here with FSR. But then in these edges right here, you can see the pixels in a way more obvious manner with NIS. So yeah, again, just by looking at this, they do the same thing. It all changes when the developer over sharpens the image. In that case, NIS wins because you can tweak the sharpness manually. So yeah, essentially they do the same thing. But if the developer doesn't do a good job with the sharpness they selected, you can make it look better with NIS. That's basically my takeaway. Although what I like about NIS is that you can do it on a driver level. So yeah, that can have a lot of advantages, like making almost every game work on it. And FSR is better when it's an in-game implementation. So in the case of Horizon, as an example, NIS is better, in my opinion, on Horizon, because FSR, the way the devs implemented FSR is way too sharp, and we do not have a sharpness gauge. So in the particular case of this game, I'll use NIS. And then on Resident Evil, whichever one you prefer. FSR or NIS, they should look the same. And performance is the same between them. So yeah, if you have an Nvidia card, I would recommend NIS on games that do not support FSR, or the games that are over-sharpened with FSR. And if you have an AMD card, well, wait for AMD to put FSR on a driver level. Because lossless scaling doesn't work every time. It's a pain in the butt to make it work, in many cases. So yeah, that's it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Again, I'm not comparing this with DLSS because it requires RTX hardware, which I do not have. And again, if you have the option to use DLSS, you'll use it anyway over FSR or NIS. DLSS just looks better because it has more information, specific hardware to take advantage of it. So That comparison does not make sense. This works on basically any GPU, I would say. Very simple solution. And for the performance uplift, I think it's completely worth it on 1080p. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see ya next time. Bye guys. Thanks for watching. Love you all. See you soon. Thank you. Bye bye. Love you all.